glistening stew, and her name is Minerva. Ouch! She's the flower of the flower. Ouch!
Welcome to the show.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Well. Does time fly or what? Here we are again on another Sunday afternoon, early evening. Man, time flies. When I was a kid, I used to dream about being 16 and being able to drive a car. And it seemed like that would never happen. It just took forever. And now the years are racing by like sands through the hourglass, because these are the days of our lives. I used to watch soap operas when I was sick at home because we had nothing else to do, and got hooked a couple times. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I am amazed, though, at how quickly time continues to fly by. And yet, every week, behind me, you see this incredible mess that just refuses to be cleaned up. Someday, I will indeed clean it up. Welcome, everybody. It is once again time for Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs, your weekly show of comic information, movie information, Bigfoot information. I'm practically an information booth. In fact, one of the things that happens to me the most at comic conventions is people stop by and ask me, excuse me, do you know where so-and-so's sitting? Do you know how to get to there? Do you know where this is? And I used to think to myself, am I just that inviting? Do I just look that friendly? And then I realized it was because I had nobody at my booth, so people felt comfortable to come up and ask me dumb questions. And I respond simply by, I don't work here. Actually, if I do know the answer, I give them the answer, but it is sort of, it's one of the many things that God puts in my life to humiliate and humble me. And so here we are. I had no intention of telling that story, but I did have the intention of telling you this at, I don't know, it was about 20 after 2 o'clock. And I was like, I got 40 minutes till showtime. Can I sneak out and mow the lawn? Because it hasn't rained in a day and a half. And I thought I should get out there and mow the lawn while I've got a chance. Well, so I get out there and I can't get the stupid lawnmower to start. And I was out there, I just wore my arm out pulling the old rip cord or whatever it is. And it could not even get that thing to even begin to want to turn over. So I let it sit, cleaned up some crap out of the garage, went back, tried it again. I thought, oh, it's going to go. No. So anyway, so I was doing it left-handed, I was doing it right-handed. Now both my shoulders are shot. And I'm just like, now I have to do a 2-hour show, but that's okay. I'm enthusiastic. I'm ready to go. But my lawn is still not mowed and it's going to rain again. It's going to be this high before what are you going to do? Okay. So enough about me complaining. Let's see who's here. Robert the Bruce is joining us. Looks like he was the first one in. He says, you should see if you can get Sam on the show. I think Jonathan Wayshak keeps in touch with him. I don't know who either of those people are. So maybe I do and I'm forgetting, or the names are just not whatever. But yeah, I'd actually have to know people to get them on the show. Gemini Dragon is here. There's Creative Faye joining us. Crazy Cat 9. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is always here. You know, and seeing Creative Faye and Leg Kick in the chat, it reminds me that I have to contact what is the oh my goodness, that comic book show.
Oh, son of a gun. You thought I was going to say son of a bitch, didn't you?
I forgot about that. The yesteryear right in front of the clip. I was just going to run the Porky Pig clip, but anyway, it's a disaster already. We're like 4 minutes into the show. SummerCon in Puyallup, Washington. That's what I'm trying to say. So I have to contact them, and then they'll say, sure, and we'd love to have you. Then I won't hear from them again for like 3 months until like 3 days before the show starts, and they'll send me my stuff. So you guys will be going, are you going to SummerCon? I go, well, I think I am, but you know, communications, not one of their stronger suits. However, they do have an excellent green room. And so I go there just for the food, even though it's quite a drive. Enough about that. There's Michelle Bowers with her sword. She's got her sword out and she is ready for action. I think Michelle Bowers is someone that should be first in line to support Barbaric Adventures when it comes out, because that too involves sword play. So, and big knives and clubs and other sorts of weapons. There's Marcus Killigroup, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, is joining us. Pitty Maw's here. Corum, he's looking forward to Cannonballs. We shall see if any get dished out. I'm desperately trying hard not to say and I think I've done a pretty good job so far. We'll see how it goes. Corey Landis is here. Eric N. Boyd Art is joining us. Let's see here. Everybody's like SummerCon, yeah. Yeah, I remembered before you told me, but thank you for telling me anyway. Marcus Killigrew says he's still awake. That is another insult that I just will not. I may be many things, but boring. I think that's 2 weeks in a row Marcus has got a shot to the gut. There's Paul Taylor, our resident biologist, all the way from Canada, joining us. 10-8 Comics is here. Tonight we have Geriatric Adventures. I'm not in a very good mood after struggling with my lawnmower, I got to admit. Let's see. There's Jerry Rasco. He says, belated happy St. Patrick's Day. When was St. Patty's Day? Was that yesterday? I mean, I don't even know because I don't care. I know Graham Nolan, that's like that's like Christmas at his house. But for me, yeah, that's, you see, the great thing about St. Patty's Day is with Valentine's Day, which is not a big deal either because it's kind of a manufactured holiday for American greeting cards and flowers. But I do get my wife something for Valentine's Day, a little something. But on St. Patty's Day, I don't have to get anything. Okay. Because none of us are Irish. None of us drink. It's not even a holiday. It's just another day. So I had no idea. I guess it was St. Patty's is the 14th, right? So yeah. So that was yesterday. Woohoo. Okay. Paul Taylor says, I always use an electronic lawnmower. That might be a smarter decision. There's Ken Jack Ben. Says, salutations, greetings and salutations from Vallejo, California. Vallejo, you know, when you're coming into LA off the Grapevine on I-5 going south, isn't that Vallejo right there where, I said, where, what's the art school there? that used to feed into Disney, used to have animation and stuff. They still have animation. It's just CalArts. Isn't that there? Isn't that the same place, or am I thinking of something else? You'll have to. Now I'm questioning myself. Is that Vallejo, California? No, it's Valencia. Sorry, Vallejo is farther south, right? Okay. Forget everything I just said. Welcome to the show, everybody. Oh, brother, this is going to be awesome. Okay. Ooh, Pity Moss cooking corned beef. You know, I was at the grocery store, one of those highfalutin, all natural grocery stores, where yes, everybody's still wearing masks, but they do have like higher quality stuff. If you're looking for like higher quality meat or like exotic cheeses or things of that nature, they're pretty good. Produce, it's a good section. Other stuff that are very limited, but on those three things. So I went in there to get some chicken thighs, and they had corned beef brisket. It was uncooked. It was on sale too, and it seemed like a pretty good price, but I don't know how to cook brisket. I've never cooked it, corned beef brisket before. So, I mean, I suppose I could have bought it and looked it up. That's what the internet's for, right? But I didn't do it. And now I'm kind of mad at myself as I see that Pity Maw's cooking it right now. Okay. Randy Howell for $2 Canadian. You're in danger of ticking off the leprechauns. Are they not going to come and like fix my shoes anymore? What do leprechauns do anyway? I mean, they guard the gold, right? And they're in really bad movies, really bad horror films. There's Stealth X5 for $2 saying hello. Thank you, Stealth. You guys have stuffed $4 in my coffers already. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. There's GJ Martinez, who I just shipped out some original artwork to on Friday, I think. So he should be getting it soon. Am I having MODOK issues? I don't know if I am. Can you have a MODOK complex? I'm going to have to look into that. Because, of course, those of you who watch Graybeard Studios on Wednesday know that Dan Lawless drew me as MODOK. So that's where that's coming from. You know, it's funny you should mention leprechauns. We do have a little piece of video later in the show when we go into our cryptids section that involves leprechauns. So I'm just saying that there was no preconceived St. Patty's Day thing about that, but you know, I guess happenstance, if you will. Okay, now Ken Jackban, I don't know about this. He says, I would like to make corned beef and cabbage. I would like to make corned beef and cabbage. I take the corned beef I cut it up into chunks to see it in the pot, get it nice and brown. Then I put the cabbage and onions and a little bit of water. Okay, I mean, yeah, okay, if you're going to cook it like a roast, I suppose you could do that. But me, the only reason for me to eat corned beef is in a Reuben sandwich. So I would want it cut in a way that I could, slice it up like the delis do. I've been watching like Cat's Deli, in New York. If you've ever been there, they don't take cards. You have to do cash. At least last time I was there, that was their thing. Whoa. I mean, this like the classic New York deli where they just stack all that tons of meat on there. And oh, so good. It's the only good thing about New York right now is the delis. I'm going to assume they're still good. I haven't been, like I said, it's probably been a decade since I've been to New York. So 10 years, man. Time flies. Paul Taylor agrees with me. Corned beef belongs in or on sandwiches. I agree. Apex Comics says, Happy Ides of March Day. My birthday is tomorrow. And happy St. Patrick's Day on Tuesday. Okay, so St. Patty's Day is not on the 14th. That would be Valentine's Day. So St. Patty's is on the 17th. Okay, well, I don't care either. Anyway, so there you go. I either missed it. I wouldn't have, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't even have known that it was St. Patty's Day. Best Age Comics says, Happy Sunday, Aaron. Creative Face says, it's also why no one remembers him. I just can't take it today. I just can't take it today. Although I don't really understand why no one remembers me. I really don't. It's become a complex of mine. It's a reality that I have to live in, that whenever I meet a famous artist, especially one that I admire, those are the ones that they never remember me, except Simonson's, Walter and Wheezy. Now I spent two weeks at their house on a week at 2 different times. So if they don't remember me, then I must really be the invisible man. But I ate their food, slept in their bed, and drove their car. So, and I didn't get in an accident or anything. So I'm assuming that every time it's San Diego and Walter and Wheezy are at San Diego, they always drop by my booth. So that to me is an indication that they do remember me. But they're the only ones. It's sad. You know who else remembers me? Okay, I'll tell you a story. Bill Stout remembers me. Of course, he remembers Shelley too. So I don't know. Maybe that may be. Shelley and I were engaged, so it was like young, hot Shelley, and so he may be remembering me because of her. But you want to hear a shocker? I'm walking through San Diego. And this is a couple of years ago, but still, I hear this, "Hey, Aaron," and I look up. You know, I'm just walking through the not the hallway, but the what's that? You know, the outside area, the foyer is what the old people used to call it. But what is it? But anyway, so I'm walking out there before I go into the hall, and I hear this, "Hey, Aaron," and I turn and look. It's Bruce Timm. And I'm like, and I think I was so stunned. I think I said, "Hey, Tim." But we're sitting, we start walking and talking. And I was just like, I finally said to him, "Dude, I can't even believe you remember me." And he's like, "Are you kidding me? Why wouldn't I?" So that was pretty amazing because I had sat next to him once at a Seattle show and we had, casual conversation, and I'd run into him, with other people in groups before and talked with him, but I figured there's no way. But he did pull me right out of the crowd. And so there you go. Bruce Timm remembered me. He may not now, but he did at one point. And Arthur Adams remembers me. He always remembers me. So, that's at least a couple people, right? So I feel a little bit better. Gemini Dragon says, "I will always remember Aaron, especially I'm in his will." So there you go. Paul Taylor says the antechamber. That may be exactly what it's called. Right, that's what I was saying. And I was by myself, and Bruce Timm picked me out of the crowd, like he couldn't read my name tag from, I was quite frankly stunned. The problem is when you wear a name tag, it always flips over the wrong way. And see, that's what happens to me because I have people come up to my booth that'll talk to me. And see, it's easy to remember somebody when they're at their booth because you have a banner behind you that says your name on it. So they walk by and go, "Oh, that's Aaron Lopresti. I should go say hi." Right? So then they walk up to me and their name tag is flipped over, right? And I know the person by, face or sight or whatever, but I can't think of their name. And that's really frustrating because then you got to fake your way through it. So even and then with my vision now, it's like I look up, I can't read it anyway. So it's like I'm constantly, like, even pros sometimes that I know their faces, but I'm like, who is this? What's this guy's name again? But at least I don't remember names very well, but I do remember faces really well. I think that's an artist thing. I like that. Or a t-shirt that says, "Hi, my name is Aaron. Please remember me. I'm insecure." Boy, you know what? I'm going to do that. I think that's a good idea, Paul. I'm not going to give you credit or any royalties for it, though. So thank you. Okay, let's get this rolling. So right off the bat, so this is a big week. I'm Big Week Lopresti this week because we, and by we I mean me, I'm launching Barbaric Adventures #1, which I've been calling Barbaric Adventures Magazine. And I don't know if that's going to be accurate or not, because it's 64 pages, which was, like that savage sword behind me there in the spinner rack. That's 64 page, but it's newsprint. I'm going to be using a higher quality paper than newsprint, and it's going to be square bound. It's not going to be stapled. So I guess we can call it a magazine, but it's more like a really, really nice magazine, bookish thing. Because I remember some magazines, like if you would get like, you guys are into sports or anything, you'd have like a pro football preview magazine that would come out, late summer, or college football or college basketball, whatever. They were always square bound, really super thick magazines. So they were still magazines, even though it was square bound. But I don't know what we're going to call this. It's not really a graphic novel because it has multiple stories in it. Although it's called a magazine, but it's a very nice high-end magazine. Anyway, we're launching on Graybeards. I'll be launching it, actually going live at 1 o'clock Pacific time. That's 4 o'clock Eastern time, an hour before Graybeards comes on. And so I will do my thing, kind of get the energy rolling, and then we're going to roll right into Graybeards. And so the campaign will be going through Graybeards. And then after Graybeards, if I don't wander on someone else's show, I will continue to stream, and probably until midnight, until I collapse. So it's going to be a huge Wednesday, big week, Lopresti. So I'm counting on all you guys for your support, because as the old Playtex bra commercial used to say, support can be beautiful. So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you guys are too. And there's Dan Lawless. Oh, so my Nora is my name tag. I didn't say it was upside down. I said it was flipped over, so you can't even see the name. They need to write the name on both sides of the. But Dan, of course, is in the book and the magazine, the whatever you want to call it. He will be with us, obviously, on Graybeards and perhaps beyond. Who knows? Pushing, tugging at your guys' heartstrings, getting you to back this project. And I know you'll be grateful and thankful that you did. Randy Hall, Canadian, for $5 says, I'll be on the road next week. Have to order Barbaric Adventures on my phone. That is dedication right there. And I appreciate that, Randy. We always count on you for those big orders. I'm always filling up a big box for Randy, and I appreciate that, Randy. Appreciate that kind of support. Okay. Now, this is what I call getting your priorities straight. He says, I'm ready. 10-8 Comics says, I'm ready. I can't buy any other comics until I see how much I spend on Barbaric Adventures. That's how it should be. Well, let's see. Yeah, so please don't connect the Playtex bras to the Barbaric comic. Don't you remember those commercials? It was like with Calgon, Take Me Away was one of them, and then there was Support Can Be Beautiful, the bra commercials. So. All right. Apex. Four Adventurous Tales, 64 pulse-pounding pages of illustrative savage art from 4 outstanding writer and artists, Aaron Lopresti, Dan Laws, David Brohock Williams, and Gary Martin. We're all contributing. I'm contributing more than the other guys are, since it's my project, but they are contributing greatly, and you're gonna get some good stuff in this book, so you don't want to miss it. So there you go. All right, that was. I'm not sure what that means. Do you think Dean Wams will be back? Back from where? Into the. I mean, other than Graybeards, no. If you mean like back to streaming with different platforms, all that kind of stuff, no. I don't see that happening in the near future. So, but I'm not, I'm not one to comment on other people's decisions and things. That's, for them to share or not to share. So, But David is always around and with us in some capacity. Do I think David Williams will back the book? You're confusing me, Marcus. He's in the book. And when you actually contribute to the book, are you making a joke that I just went over my head? I don't know what is going on here. Okay. So anyway. You guys took me off track. I have no idea what's going on right now. Oh, let me take a moment here to... yes, will he back the book? No, I don't think he will. I think he will expect me to give him a free copy since he drew in it. So that's kind of my feeling on it. GJ Martinez for $20 huge dollars. Thank you, GJ. Appreciate that very much. Can't wait for Barbaric Adventures. This will be another hit for sure, with special guests doing their part, and yours truly, of course, plus the many future projects you'll have for us to enjoy. You rock, Aaron. Hashtag Empire Comics. That's the kind of support that I'm looking for on this show, and can only be rewarded with. Yeah. David Williams does not suck, actually. He's an incredibly talented artist, and you guys are going to be very pleased with what you see coming from Dan, David, and myself, and Gary as well. Well, Gary's contribution is, but it's still going to be cool. So, all right. Okay. So I wanted to take a moment, if I could. It's my show, so I guess I can. Yeah, that's right. I've got a website called aaronlopresti.com where you can go to see stuff. You can also go there to buy stuff. And of course, that's what I'm always focused on. And it will continue to be so. So you just hit on the old store button there, and it'll take you right to my store. You got these little tabs up top here. You can look at the prints. Look at the prints. They're all in color, so Paul Taylor would love these. Well, except this Studiosaurus pinup portfolio is in black and white. Only got a couple of those left because the bottom got dinged up. They're really big. So like corners got bent, things like that. So I don't think I have many of those left that aren't dinged. But anyway, the color prints, books. Look at all these books. You can get Wraith of God 1, Wraith of God 2, Kit Carter, Graybeard Studio Sketchbook Ashcan from my Comic-Con International 2025. Planet Doom hardcover. Trash, Saved from the Trash, Garbage Man, Power Cubed, Blood Hunters, Wraith of God, Fear Hollow. Everything that I've published is available on this website in some capacity. There's pages, although one of the I just sold one of the Justice League pages, so you can't get that one. But there's pages, there's sketches, there's illustrations, there's view all, so you can view everything together. I mean, this is a website that's organized, which completely goes against the grain for me. That's why I actually paid someone to make it for me, because I wanted it to be organized. But anyway, so go check this out. You'll find a link in the description of this video that'll take you right there, get you caught up on your reading and all that good fun stuff. So let me get this taken care of, and now we're back to the actual entertaining portion of the show. Dan Lawless he should be a carnival barker. I'm terrible at promoting stuff. One of the reasons I don't show that stuff, Dan, because no one reminds me, first of all, and I'm drawing and trying to host and trying to make sure Gary's doing his job, which he never is. And so, remembering all this stuff, but we will be pumping the campaign regularly on Wednesday. That I won't forget. Okay. But I'm producing a phase saying I need more books, Aaron. I'm producing as fast as I can. Gemini Dragon says, I'll remind Grandpa this week. Of course, he's referring to me, which of course I find somewhat insulting. So, even though I am a grandpa, so, okay, here we go. Let me take that down before I lose my mind completely. All right, let's get into the meat of the show right after I close my door. My dog keeps sneaking in and then leaves. And then he leaves the door wide open. You can hear everything else going on in the house. And I just, yeah, Grumpy Gramps is right. Okay, I'm feeling much better. All right, so let's take a look at this. We are down to the top 20 films of all time, according to the American Film Institute. And as I'm looking through this list, I'm getting a little bit, is agitated the right word? I don't necessarily agree with what I'm looking at. So we're going to do 20 through 11. And then next week will be the final installment, 10 all the way up to 1. So let's get rolling here with 20, which I'll probably complain about. But I will not complain about this fantastic movie poster. Now you may say, Aaron, what in the world? Where did you get that movie poster? Well, this was painted by a guy named CM Dudash, if ever that was a country name. And he probably doesn't remember me, but I called him up. This was years ago. He had done most famously the Pale Rider movie poster, the Clint Eastwood film. And I was going to bring him out to Portland to do a weekend seminar. And I called up my other artist friends and I said, hey, if we pool our money, we can put this guy up for 3 days in a hotel. We can fly him in and out, give him $500, whatever he needs. And then we can do like this, painting seminar with this guy because he does these things. And so I set it all up and then everybody bailed on me. Everybody bailed on me. So I had to call him up embarrassed and say, no, my whole thing fell apart. So, but we chatted and he was a good dude. He was living in Pennsylvania, I think, at the time, and then was planning to move to Idaho, which I believe he has. But anyway, so he did this painting, and then it was available on his website for, I don't know, this must have been done for like a 50th anniversary release or something like that, for It's a Wonderful Life. All that to say, number 20 is It's a Wonderful Life. So anyway, I bought a signed copy of this, and it's movie poster size, so it's kind of cool. Really nice poster. So, I mean, everybody's heard of A Wonderful Life, and certainly it's a big film and an important film in the psyche of American pop culture and moviedom. But is it really a top 20 film all time? I would put it in top 50. Is this a better movie than Jaws? I don't think it is. It's long. It's a really good film. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be in the top 100, but I'm questioning it at number 20. And in fact, if you look at the list, which I'm not going to show you, but I'm looking at it right now, it's actually dropped. So from the 1997, the original list, it was number 11, which I don't see that. But it's dropped 9 So now it's down to the 20th. I mean, 21 was Chinatown. 23 was Grapes of Wrath. 25 was To Kill a Mockingbird. 27 was High Noon. 29 was Double Indemnity. Is this really better than all those films? I don't know. I love it. Don't get me wrong. And Donna Reed is smoking hot in this, but I questioned it at 20. But there you go. What are you going to do? Paul Taylor says Rocky is better. Bridge on the River Kwai is better. Well, we haven't got to those yet. Those are on the list, but we haven't got to them yet. Okay, so then anyway, great movie poster, though. You can go to CM Dudash's website and get one of these things. He's an old dude, so get it quick if you're going to do it. Okay, I just said All right, our next film coming in at number 19. I'm not going to argue with this one. It's On the Waterfront. It's winner of 8 Academy Awards, including Best Pictures and Best Actor Marlon Brando for On the Waterfront. This was 1954, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Now, this is during my not a big fan of Brando phase, because every movie I'd seen Brando in, he played like a dumb, working on the docks. It could have been a contender. And then he played the same type of character in Streetcar Named Desire. And I was like, oh, come on, man. But then I saw him in Julius Caesar and I was blown away. And then I became just a huge Brando fan. So not as a person, but as an actor. Let's get that straightened away. Although later in his life, he sort of became a really annoying joke of a personality and how he treated acting, and was accused by other actors like Robert Duvall of being lazy because he wouldn't memorize his lines. But you can't argue with the performances he put up on screen, regardless of his method or his, personal whatevers. He was good in this. And he took home the Academy Award, as this did, for Best Picture, directed, of course, by Elia Kazan, who I saw recently. I saw a quote from Orson Welles where he was ripping on Elia Kazan because Kazan turned in people to the Joe McCarthy, the commies, turned him in and betrayed Hollywood. But now we look at that and go, I wish they'd turn more of them in. But anyway, there you go. Elia Kazan and On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando comes in at number 19. All right, now here we have, is it controversial? I'm going to say yes, it is. I haven't seen it, though. But the Buster Keaton classic, The General. Okay, so this was a silent film. Okay. Now, let me give you a piece of little AFI, American Film Institute history here. This movie from 1927, silent movie, is number 18. They're saying this is the 18th best film. Or, no, I guess they're not saying best, greatest, which could mean a lot of different things, right? Significant, all those kind of things. This film was not even on the top 100 list in 1997. So how in the world does this go from not even on the list to number 18 10 years later? Help me out here. I love Buster Keaton, and I'm sure this movie's great. We've all seen scenes from it, but I've never seen the whole thing. So I can't really say it, but I'm going to say it anyway, just because it wasn't on the list at all before. So we've got Ben-Hur sitting at 100, about ready to fall off the list. And then Buster Keaton comes in with The General, not even making the list the first time, and now he's at number 18. I don't know. I mean, and Buster Keaton was great, and I'm not saying this isn't a great film, but it's just like that seems really bizarre to me. So we'll just go with that. And, so then we go to number 17, a counterculture film from 1967, starring Dustin Hoffman, The Graduate. Mike Nichols, very good director, directed this. This is a very odd film, but apparently incredibly impactful for that generation. I mean, I was 3 years old when this came out, so I didn't see it till I was much older. So it didn't have the cultural impact on me when I saw it that it probably did in 1967 when it came out. Sam Goyer, indie book reader, says The Graduate is overrated. It does have a fantastic ending, though, where you've got Dustin Hoffman's character and Catherine Ross. You know, he breaks up her wedding, and they run off together, get on the bus, and then as they're sitting in the back seat of the bus, the camera's on them, and their expressions change from laughing and oh boy, that was incredible, and then it's like reality sets in, and they're like, okay, so what are we going to do now? You know, are we going to get married? Or we have to settle down and become adults now? We've done, you know, it was just, that was an amazing last moment of that film where the reality of being an adult just hit both of them square in the face, and they did not handle it well. And it almost makes you feel like when they get to the first bus stop, they're getting off and they're going their separate ways. And Catherine Ross is going, oh, I wonder if that guy will marry me after all. So I give the ending had some pretty powerful moments. So, but it was originally on the first list. It was, wow, it was number 7. This movie was number 7 of the 100 greatest films of all time on the original list from 1997, and has been dropped down to 17, which I think, again, feels more right for this. I mean, I've seen this movie, and it's interesting. It's odd. And like I said, it probably would have hit me differently if I'd seen it as a young adult in 1967 than it does right now. It is kind of hard because you have to understand, I think, in this list, the cultural importance at the time the film came out. And if you weren't there, it's kind of hard to appreciate it beyond that. You can appreciate the film, but it's hard to appreciate the impact it had on culture if you weren't there when it came out. And I think a lot of that they're trying to sort of retrofit onto these movies, and that's why they're getting placed where they're getting placed. This is a freaking classic. At number 16. Great movie poster too. Billy Wilder gives us this Sunset Boulevard, a Hollywood story. William Holden, Gloria Swanson, and Eric von Stroheim. This is a really interesting, crazy film. Gloria Swanson, who was a star in the silent era, Billy Wilder brings her to play this aging, basically play herself, an aging silent film star in Hollywood, trying to stay relevant, and she's just freaking nuts. And it ends up being, this is a pretty heavy drama. It ends up being a murder story and all these things. You know, William Holden's not a great guy. He sort of attaches himself to her because she still has recognizable fame, even though she's washed up in Hollywood. She's still, you know, in the movie, she's still a, you know, famous personality. And the only thing I didn't like about this movie, or I didn't understand, maybe if I watched it again, maybe it would sit with me differently. But you have William Holden narrating this at the beginning of the film, and he's already dead. And so I'm like, so he's narrating this from the grave? But I guess Scorsese used that same trick in like Goodfellas, or pardon me, was it Goodfellas or Casino? Casino, I think, where he had guys that were dead narrating stuff, and at different parts of the film. So I don't know. I always thought that was kind of strange, but then I guess it's really not the point. But an excellent film. And it is, as they say, a legit close-up. Of course, with the line, "I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille." So if you haven't seen this, you should. And once again, this is another Billy Wilder film. Billy Wilder has 4 movies in this top 100. In fact, after we get the final 10 next week, I will give you the list of the directors that have the most films in this top 100. It's kind of interesting. But I don't have any problem with this being in the top 20. In fact, it's down 4 spots. It was 12 on the last list. It's now 16, but you're in the ballpark, which I think that's pretty good. And I love this movie poster. I really do. That red is really nice. Now let's drop down to 15. A classic. People either love this movie or they hate it. Doesn't seem to be any in between. And that is, of course, Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. What a great movie poster. That's by, is that by, probably not Sid Mead, but who's the other guy that does the, is it Sid Mead? The guy who does the space paintings? It seems there's one other guy. Who am I thinking of? McCall? No, that's Sid Mead. Isn't that Sid Mead? Somebody help me out. Gemini Dragon says Billy Wilder's best film is A Fortune Cookie. I don't know if I agree with that, but Gemini Dragon, look at that. Not Kubrick's best. Great movie to sleep to. The more I watch this film, because I always thought it was really boring, but when I saw it when I was young, I didn't really understand it. I don't completely understand it now, but I get more of a vibe of what he was going for. And the interesting thing about this film is, those of you who watch The Landing Party, which is a show on Sunday that we it's on Graham Nolan's show. It's about Star Trek with Anna, the Star Wars girl, also the Star Trek girl, and Ron Garney. And we talk about classic Trek. And we recently discussed the Star Trek, the motion picture, the first Star Trek movie, and how it was trying to be 2001: A Space Odyssey rather than being like classic Star Trek. And I said, yeah, but the difference is, for me, was 2001: A Space Odyssey, there is a subplot that keeps this thing very interesting, and that is Hal, the computer on the ship, trying to kill those 2 dudes. So you have this sort of drama going on that is kind of a subplot to the bigger narrative, which is what happens when he gets to Saturn, which Star Trek, the motion picture, didn't have at all. It didn't have that subplot. It just was them, in this grandiose sort of monstrous scale alien ship that they had to figure out what it was. But there wasn't that extra level of drama that I thought this movie actually has. And I love the opening sequence with the monkeys when they kill each other with the jawbones and all that kind of stuff. That was my favorite part, which is really has very little to do with the film, other than letting us know that the obelisk was there since the beginning of time, or since beginning of man, if you believe in evolution, which I don't, but I know that, some of you do. But for the sake of the picture. So I do like, the more I watch this, the more I like it. I still don't think it's freaking the greatest thing ever, like some people do, but the I do think it's better than I used to think it was. And obviously you've got, because of the special effects and just because of what it was and when it was, it's got to be on this list. So I don't really have a problem with it, being where it's at on this list, to be honest with you. People are saying the sequel 2010 also clears up the ending of 2001. I liked 2010, which was directed by Peter Hyams and starred at the time two of my favorite actors, Roy Scheider. Of course, he became my favorite actor after Jaws. And then John Lithgow. I always thought John Lithgow was really good. And he's in this movie, 2010. And it's a little bit more grounded in the sense that the two guys that were in Keir Dullea and the other guy that was in Star Trek, Gary Lockwood, not really big name guys. I mean, maybe they were bigger in the 60s. I don't know. But I watched it and I didn't really identify those guys. Roy Scheider to me is like a great everyman kind of actor. So he's really easy to identify with. And so I enjoyed 2010 quite a bit. Now, it's not the spectacle that this is, and it's not probably as deep as this or artistic as this is. But for just an action adventure film, it's pretty good. So there you go. All righty. Now, 2001 is up 7 spots. So it was originally 22 on the list, and now it's up to 15. Let's go with number 14. And this is not, I love this film, but it's not my favorite. Where's my image? There it is. It's not my favorite of this director, but it's up there. And it's Hitchcock, Psycho. The unfortunate thing with this movie was I knew how it ended before I saw it the first time. And that really irritated me because this ending is such a unforeseen twist that, I mean, I'm sure there's people who say, oh yeah, I saw it coming or whatever, but I don't believe it because I had no idea this was coming. And even though I knew it was coming, the way that the film played out, I would never have guessed it if I hadn't already been told. And it's incredibly creepy. The interesting thing about this is it takes a long time to get going. Because we set up Janet Leigh as this sort of immoral, she's having an affair with this dude, but then she steals money from her boss. And she regrets it the whole time. She seems like she's in incredible regret the entire time. So they're trying to sort of justify her murder as she wasn't that great of a person, which I guess she wasn't, but she kind of felt guilty the whole time. So you kind of felt bad for her. And that was kind of a twist too, right? I don't think anybody would have expected this. We get to see Janet Leigh in her underwear at the very beginning of the movie, and then she ends up getting killed 20 minutes later. And then her sister comes in looking to figure out, that's Vera Miles, figure out what happened to her sister. But this is classic Hitchcock. Anna posted a meme or a shot of like 16 directors, that didn't have an Academy Award. And it was like Orson Welles and Alfred Hitchcock and some pretty big name people. And she said, and they were like, it's amazing. None of these directors ever got an award for best director. And she goes, that's because half of them suck. And I was like, obviously she's trolling a bit, but I said, okay, you better name which ones suck before I lose my mind. And I haven't heard back yet, but I'm going to find out which one she thinks sucks. But Someone posted in there that they thought that Alfred Hitchcock directed the same film over and over again, so he was overrated. And I'm like, I don't think you've seen all of Hitchcock's work if you think he's directed the same film over and over and over again. Because I'm not sure that Psycho is like anything else he directed, and Rear Windows. He oftentimes has a flawed hero like Jimmy Stewart in Vertigo and in Rear Window, but yeah, I'm not sure that I agree with that. And I can't remember who said that. I think it's someone in our chat, maybe not, that said that. But Hitchcock's one of my favorite directors. And he was a guy who really brought technical aspects to the forefront. But he also, I thought, did a really nice job with character and stuff in his films as well. So, all right. So now we go to a movie that was 15th on the list last time and is now clawed its way up to 13. Certainly, if you had to say, give me a list of the 5 most significant films of all time, this certainly would be on that list. It is, of course, Star Wars. And I don't even think this is on this list because someone's trying to say, oh, this is one of the greatest films ever made, because it's not. But boy, it's certainly one of the most historic and historically significant films ever made. So therefore, it has to be on this list, which is funny to me because everybody says that Empire Strikes Back was a much better film than Star Wars, but Empire Strikes Back isn't on this list. So that tells you that this list is about more than just the quality of a singular film, but its importance in the cultural landscape and within the history of film itself. And this movie, because of special effects, it showed us stuff we'd never seen before, even in a way that we had never imagined that we could, see something like that. It was a very simple film. The good guys wear white, the black guys, or black guys, oh brother. The bad guys wear black and the good guys wear white. It's like an old Western, and it's very much like an old Western. So it's not groundbreaking except for the sound and the special effects. And then, of course, the box office. So you had, in the 70s was pretty remarkable. You had The Godfather broke the record for biggest box office. 3 years later, Jaws comes in and destroys The Godfather. 2 years later, Star Wars comes in and destroys Jaws. So, this is, no one's going to argue that this should be on this list and probably should be up as high as it is. So there you go. I agree. The acting was terrible in the original Star Wars. I couldn't stand Harrison Ford. I thought he was terrible. But once I saw him in Raiders of the Lost Ark, it changed my whole perspective on him as an actor. But this movie, I didn't think he was very good in. So, but all that had to do with the writing too, I think. So anyway. So Star Wars comes in at number 13. Now this, you could say this is controversial because of where it was last time on the list, but I think this is closer to being right than its original placement on the list. And that is John Ford's classic, The Searchers. This, I was stunned when I saw this, and perhaps you will be too. If you've seen this movie, it was originally 96th out of 100 on the first AFI list, which seems really low. And it's moved up 84 spots all the way to number 12, which is crazy that it would move that much. But this may be, and of course it's open for discussion, but this may be the greatest Western ever made. I was never a big John Wayne fan and I think I said this before because I didn't think he was ever a great actor. He was more like Schwarzenegger. He was more of a performer. He got better as he did more films and stuff. But this film, when he was working with John Ford, he always gave his best performances. He was great in this because he plays this kind of anti-hero. He's going to rescue poor little Natalie Wood, who'd been kidnapped by Indians as a little girl and raised. But you're not sure if he's going to kill Natalie Wood or not because he hates Indians so much. This is a really, really good movie. I would have expected it maybe at least always have been in the top 30. And I don't really have a problem with it at 12 because I just think it's that good and that significant and that well done. And that's a great movie poster. This is another newer movie poster. This was not the movie poster when the movie came out. But man, this is a great poster. I don't know who did it, but it's really good. That's right. Jeffrey Hunter, Captain Pike from the original Star Trek pilot, was in this movie. So anyway, John Ford classic for sure, all the way up from 96 to 12. All right, now this one, I got a massive problem with this next one. But I have to say I haven't seen it. So I need to see it, and then I will perhaps change my opinion, but I doubt it. At number 11, City Lights? Really? This movie, of course, is another silent movie, Charlie Chaplin. And Charlie Chaplin has several films on this list. I'm not saying Charlie Chaplin isn't great and all that, but this was originally 76 on the first list, and now it goes 65 spots to number 11. Is it really that great? Now, I've seen Modern Times, which I think was a great film. I've seen The Gold Rush, which is also on this list, which I thought was a great film. I have not seen City Lights. I just can't imagine it. To me, it's like The General, too, at 18. I just don't know. Where's Nosferatu? Why isn't that on here? Phantom of the Opera with Lon Chaney Sr. is a great silent movie. Where's that? I don't know. I question a few of these, and I question this one. And Chaplin was a genius, don't get me wrong, but this high on the list, I don't know. Call me crazy. So that is going to round out our films for this week. Next week is the top 10. And we shall see what we shall see. The Great Dictator is great as well. Oh, okay. You know what? Certain things I can take, other things I just can't. Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is one of the most, let me rephrase that. It is one of the worst films I've seen in modern times. I loved it as a kid, but boy, it's repetitive. 80% of the jokes do not work. I took my daughter, who's 25, to go see it with me. I made her go see it with me at a local theater here. And I did a review on this very show after I saw it. I was stunned at how bad it was. And she was just like, this movie sucks. And I was like, yeah, it does. So I just think everybody's got like blinders on and they just, the rose colored glasses or whatever. And okay. Anyway. Oh, okay. Well, according to my list of things to do next, this comes up, so I guess we'll do it. Yeah. Okay. Why would I not take the time to keep pimping Barbaric Adventures? So there's going to be a perk, which they're now calling rewards. They don't call them perks anymore. They call them rewards on the campaign, where you can buy all of the roughs that go into the making of Barbaric Adventures. Now, there's not going to be as many as there were like in the Wraith of God roughs, which I've done every campaign, where there's, you know, because there's one for just about for every page of the book, and then there's extra stuff. There are so many high quality roughs in this batch that if you're into that, I would really consider. There's only, you know, there's only one person can get it, but I'm just saying it's out there. So many roughs and final pencils and things that I did for the cover, which you haven't seen yet, which you will see very soon, that I think it's well worth it. But anyway, so here I was working on page 3, which I wasn't going to show you guys, but then I was like, yeah, what the heck. But so I did this kind of laying out some different things. You know, here's our hero jumping in to help the cave girl down there with the spear that's about to get eaten by this giant dinosaur thing. And as I was messing around with it, trying to get her pose right, which you see down here in the corner, and I was like, do I want it to be that fundamentally barbaric where this guy's just going to jump off a cliff to attack a giant dinosaur with a knife? And I thought, okay, he's a hero, but come on. And in the original concept for the story, Primal Zone, he had some tech with him. And then I dumped the tech for this new story. And then now I'm rethinking it, saying, yeah, why wouldn't he still? I'm going to give him the tech. But I had to make it work in my head and with the story. And I've done that. So I'm thinking now, as I started to lay the page out again, I thought, well, wait a minute. What about his little retro flyer that he had in the original? What if I brought that back? Because it makes more sense to me that he would come barreling off this cliff on a little jet flyer that had guns on it that he could shoot this dinosaur with, as opposed to attacking him with a knife in his hand, which made no sense to me. Look at that little drawing there of my little retro flyer. I kind of like that. So anyway, all that to say this, that these two pieces, which are just barely scratching the surface of the caliber of roughs that will come in this perk / reward. That's the thing, right? So it's like if I went straight barbaric, I'm kind of like, well, what? I mean, yeah, there's dinosaurs, but what makes this more interesting? And the concept, of course, is interdimensional travel. And so why would this guy come dimensionally to this other world that maybe he doesn't know what it is till he gets there, but he would bring some stuff with him. It makes sense to me. And that was my original concept, right? I think a lot of you guys have seen the double page spread, which is from the original story, which will be printed in its entirety in this book as well, from 1997, where he's flying on a little retro flyer like that, and a T-Rex is trying to bite him as he's zipping by. And that was the original concept. But then I thought, nah, I'm going to, I don't want to do that. And then I'm thinking, why don't I want to do that? So I'm rethinking the whole thing. And I think I'm going to go that direction now, which needs a little tweaking on the script, but not much. So there you go. But I think it needs, I think it needs that little aspect to the story to make it a little bit more different. So. I'm just reading your guys' comments. So yeah, so what's going to be in this magazine as well is you're going to get the news story, right, from me, and then of course David's story, and of course Dan's story, and Gary's contribution. And then you're going to get this original story that I did from 1997, and there'll be like a page that sort of explains it and writes it up, the concepts, and how I came to these conclusions, and maybe what I used in the old story that I'm not using in the new story, those type of things. So there'll be some backstory and some history behind this. And one of the things I think that is also interesting about this magazine that I do not want to escape you guys is you're getting the premiere, not just of one, but of 2 IPs. This is going to be the first appearance of Primal Zone, and it's also going to be the first appearance of the Ice Princess. So, Warrior Princess, I guess I should say. So, there's significance to this book. It's not just a random collection of stories, just a random anthology. There is some significance to the Lopresti verse in this book. So, you don't want to miss it. And everything ties in. Everything ties in. It's like the Marvel Universe, except it's the Lopresti verse. But everything ties in. They exist in the same realm. So anyway, there you go. There you go. Get in the zone. Primal Zone. So anyway, I wanted to show you those couple of pieces as I was working through laying out page 3. And reclaiming my the tech that I dropped. I'm now going to reclaim it. I'm almost completely convinced that that's what I'm going to do. So. Thought you were going to create your universe as Conan. Why would I create Conan? Conan's already been created. Savage Tales was broad. If you remember, Khazar was a regular in Savage Tales. That was a dinosaur sort of barbarian type thing. So is this. It just has a little bit of tech here and there. And it opens up the door for, I have a straight up barbarian story, but it doesn't really, it's just it could be a Conan story. It could be anything. It doesn't really have a lasting impact. Where I think Primal Zone could be a monthly book, if it were, it's set up that way. And those are the kind of projects that I want to get out. So, but there's plenty of barbarism in these stories. So don't fret. Yeah, Conan is awesome. King Cole is awesome, but they've already been done. So I don't know that me just, emulating my Conan is, it would be okay for a one-off story, but I wanted something that that I had that I could move forward with. So there you go. That's my thinking anyway. I did want to show you guys this too, just from an artist standpoint. My painting friends who know stuff were telling me to use soft body acrylics. And that's what I painted the cover painting with. And those of you who are painters or explorers, this is a wet palette, okay? And so this is to store your acrylics, because anybody that uses acrylics knows they dry super quick. And so look at that mess. Look at that freaking mess that I made. So what a wet palette is, they have this paper, right, in here. You see that? I don't know. It's getting washed out. See that yellow? That is a thin sponge. And so you soak that in water, then wring it out so it's really, really damp. You put your palette paper over the top of it, and it absorbs moisture through that sponge. And when you put your paints on there, it keeps them wet so they don't dry out. Right? Because if you just left them out in the air, they would dry out in an hour if you were painting, if you didn't keep water on it. But this, I can put it on there, close this up, which isn't exactly airtight, but it's kind of, and it keeps that water from evaporating out of there, and it keeps your paints wet, so you get a longer life out of your acrylic paints. So there you go. Here's your tip of the day. There you go, Tupperware and spritz. Oh, okay. Paul Taylor says, you've spoken of this before. Well, a little refresher course. There you go. JC Vaughn's in the chat. Hey, JC, thanks for joining us today. There you go. You guys know your wet palettes. Everybody's saying, I use those. I know that. So, okay. Just throwing it out there for those who maybe were unaware. All righty. Moving right along. Let's
Moving right along.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Let's take a look at some covers. Sam Kieth is one of those artists that I think you either love because of his uniqueness, or you're just like, that's just too weird. I don't get it. I don't like it. And I don't know where I'm at totally on the spectrum with Sam Kieth. There is a part of me, there's the pure fan part of me that really likes unique approaches. But they still, I think, have to be done well within the context of what they're doing. And even though I'm a guy that doesn't really have a super unique style, or even super unique, just unique, like Sam Kieth does, or somebody like that, I do like it when I see that. I'm just like everybody else. Like, oh, that's cool. That's different. I mean, there's two kinds of really good. There's like, okay, that guy draws really well, or this guy draws really unique. And either one of those I can get on board with. And Sam Kieth is draws really unique, which makes it interesting because you're seeing stuff that you don't normally see. So anyway, let's take a look at some of my favorite covers of Sam Kieth's. They may not be yours. Like I always like to say, your mileage may vary. Now, this is a really good issue. If you have not read this, this is Hulk 368. This is just before Dale took over, and I've got to imagine this was a fill-in issue. But the weird thing about it is, Sam Kieth penciled this, Kelly Jones inked it, which is a great pairing, by the way, I would think. At least that would be your initial response. That's a pretty great pairing. So to get someone like Sam Kieth and Kelly Jones to do a fill-in issue, to me, that's pretty remarkable. So the Gray Hulk is on a train with Mr. Hyde, who's also a very, very powerful character, and they just brawl on this train. It's great. Man, remember we used to get a comic book for $1? I remember when I used to get comics for 20 cents, but even $1 didn't seem like it was that much. Now, gosh, so expensive. But anyway, I really, I always liked this. I thought it was really interesting. He has like I don't even know. I wouldn't even venture to say who his influences are, but he feels like he has some Wrightson in there. Feels like he has some Arthur Sudam in there. Feels like, there's some, who's that other guy I want to say? Of course, there's plenty of Sam Kieth in there. I'm not suggesting that but it's an interesting amalgam of influences, and he's created something really sort of interesting. And of course, these are the kind of covers I love. This is an action cover, but still two huge centralized figures going at it. That's kind of cover that you go, ooh, I want to buy that. Even if you think the Hulk and is a little weird looking, he's powerful, he's big, and he's dominating the cover. I think that's great. So this is interesting. I don't even know what this is, but I really like it. In fact, I don't know that I saw it until I was searching for cover images for him, which happens to me. I always find a few covers I'm just completely unaware of. Gallery edition. I don't know. Is this just pinups? But that is a really funky cover. You've got this kind of like, it's sort of like, it's like Bisley, Wrightson. Who else did I see in there? Just a Sienkiewicz. It's really crazy, man. So I just like the headshots here, and it's just really startling. So I think that's a nice one. This isn't all that dissimilar. It is, however, in full color, so Paul Taylor will like it better, I'm sure. And this is from the gallery edition, Batman Secrets. I don't remember ever seeing this book, but that's pretty cool. Again, kind of a Bisley Sienkiewicz-y kind of feel to it. And I know a lot of artists hate it when they get compared to other artists, and instead of people just, loving what they're bringing to the table. But obviously he's bringing all of this to the table. But I always find it fun and interesting to see whose people's influences are, or even guess at whose people influences are. That's not to say that they're ripping anybody off, because he's certainly not, but you can see sort of these different vibes that he's picked up to make his own sort of thing out of it, his own soup, if you will. I like this just because of the negative space. Of course, Sam Kieth had a run there where he was doing a lot of Marvel Comics Presents covers, because I guess he was doing Wolverine stories in there or something. I don't even know, because I don't even know if I was still reading the book at this time. But I like this just because of the design and the negative space in it. This is an eye catcher for sure. This one is pretty cool. You've got, again, this Marvel Comics Presents, but you've got, Venom tearing up the logo like that, which, I mean, really tearing it up. You can't even hardly read it. And you got Wolverine, a very Sam Kiethy Wolverine down here on the bottom, and this big old Venom, which the thing with Venom is, when you get a character that's almost entirely black, it's hard to make them overly stylized. So like you can totally see Sam Kieth in the Wolverine, but the Venom could have been drawn by a dozen different guys just because of the nature of the character. But the design of this is really cool. I really like it. I entirely like this simply because it's a single powerful image, but it's also funky and crazy. See, some of this rib stuff in here in the stomach kind of reminds me of Kelly Jones a little bit. These little goblins remind me of maybe like Bisley or who's the humor artist? Doggone it. Reminds me of another guy, and I can't think of his name, but he did that Cowboy Bob thing. You guys help me out. Who am I trying to think of? Yeah, I can see some Vaughn Baudet in there. Yeah. Oh, that's driving me crazy. I gotta find out who did that. Comic. Who is that? It's not Cowboy Bebop. He did some issues of The Shadow too. I hate it when I blank out on guys. Kyle Baker, that's who I'm trying to think of. Just came to mind. Like these little dudes back here kind of remind me of Kyle Baker-ish kind of stuff, or maybe even, like I said, Bisley or something like that. So he has a lot of, interesting stuff going on in his work. I remember he did a Alien miniseries for Dark Horse. It was pretty cool. Back in the day. Marcus Killigo says he went to SVA with Kyle Baker. How about that? Marcus Killigo knows a lot of guys. I like this just because of the kind of the goofiness of it. I like the Wolverine. There's another version where Wolverine's getting crushed by the 100. I kind of like this one better. I love these guys back in the 90s that would draw every single hair on Wolverine's body. JC Vaughn is absolutely correct. They did. Well, the thing, that's where I got my first job, was in Marvel Comics Presents. And because this thing came out, I got to say, there was 3 stories in every issue. And it was coming out every 2 weeks. So they needed material. And I don't think anybody was sitting around going, well, I don't think we can't do that, or we can't hire this guy. I mean, they were just like, can you draw 8 pages? Yes, here. The guy would come up with a script to go, yeah, let's do it, because they had the main story, which was, Wolverine, or was mainly the main gist of Marvel Comics Presents. But then you had these backup stories where they could literally run anything they wanted and try out different things. And it really didn't affect them because people were buying the book for the Wolverine story. And so it was a great tryout book. Unfortunately, my tryout story didn't exactly carry the impact that Sam Kieth's did. All right, there you go. This is kind of fun. There's also this sort of like, I love this kind of little, this is the Arthur Sudam kind of thing that is kind of Frazetta-y, as like the little mushrooms down here, you know, and this gnarly tree. What does it got to do with Wolverine and Nightcrawler? Nothing, but it's, I still think it's a pretty cool cover. And I like the white background, again, very stark, helps it jump right off the page. That's a nice one. I like this one too a lot. Again, very simple, but really kind of grabs you. And that's a nice funky Ghost Rider cover. So you had Marvel Comics Presents, you had Ghost Rider and Cable, it looks like, and then it looks like there's a Thing story up there. So, I mean, they were literally just, you could, I wish I'd thought of it at the time. I wish I'd come in as a writer artist instead of just an artist looking for work. I wish I'd been confident enough at that point, because I wasn't even that confident of an artist, but I would have come in with like a story. I should have been bold. And then maybe could have written and drawn my own 8-page story. They probably would have let me. I mean, they, like I said, they were just desperate to get guys to do stories so they had material to put in these books. I love the stark simplicity of this design. There's nothing really dynamic happening here, obviously, but it's very interesting to look at. Wow, I just noticed this is IDW. I didn't know IDW published the Max for a while there. Interesting. So he had Messner Loebs in helping with the script, I would assume. Or maybe Messner Loebs was just writing it and they put Sam's name first because he's the creator and artist. I don't know. Oh, okay. He says they did reprints. Okay. Did Messner Loebs always write the Max? Now that I said that out loud, that sounds right. That this was a collaboration between Sam Kieth and Messner Loebs, the Max, or did he bring in Messner Loebs later? I will wait patiently for your answers. Okay, Robert the Bruce says co-wrote with Sam Kieth. So he's been there since the beginning, right? I always thought this was interesting. Okay, I got you. Sam fell behind in the story, yeah. Certainly happens. I see, there's part of me that wants to be this funky and to do stuff like this. I start doing funky stuff like this, though, and I get criticized for it. Those of you might remember the Wolverine that I did. It was really sort of exaggerated on Graybeards, and I took such a raft of crap for that. Of course, I sold it, so joke's on you. But I do. It's like doing weird stuff with the hair and things like that. I just think it's fun. It's cool. See, they have what's this chick's name? Was she like a sentinel up here in the corner box? Was she a sentinel for Galactus? Like you'd never see a story with her in it, but they could stick one in here in this magazine because, okay, I'm going to buy the Wolverine story and then, you know, I'll read this too. Comics Legend says, we'll be a guest gallery section in the back of Barbaric Adventures. Well, Gary Martin is supplying the inside front cover pinup. And there's so much story in it because there's, like I said, there's the three main stories. Then there's the original Primal Zone story that I did in 1997. Then there's a preview of the Ice Princess. And so at that point, I think we're close to 60 pages, which in the book is only 64 pages. So, you put in the copyright page and the table of contents. Now you're at 62. So you only got 2 pages left. So that is interesting. I could add it as a, that's a good idea actually, because I could add that as a bonus section if we get to 100K. I like your thinking. I like your thinking, comics legend. So anyway, that's all I got for Sam Kieth. I think that's quite a few, which I didn't know that I would get 10, but I ended up getting like 13. I thought, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's Firestar. Wasn't that who was in the corner box? Yeah. Okay. JC Vaughn saying Frankie Ray as Nova. Wait a minute. Was Firestar, wasn't that like one of like Spider-Man's amazing friends or something? Wasn't that character? Yeah, some people are saying Nova, some people are saying Firestar. I guess someone's going to have to go buy that comic and read it or pull it out of their collection and let us know. That's probably good. See, Sam Kieth that would be an artist edition that I'd want to get, because I think some of the artist editions, they do it out of respect for the artist, but sometimes if a guy has a more bold, straightforward style, I mean, like getting an artist edition of Kirby isn't going to tell you a whole lot that you're not seeing in the comic book, but you get someone that does like delicate work like Wrightson or Sam Kieth, Kevin Nolan, then you're seeing a lot more that maybe broke up and didn't make it onto the final page. Dave Stevens, Rocketeer, there's stuff there to see that you're not seeing in the comic. So, I'm not saying that having a giant book on Kirby isn't great, but I'm just saying in terms of studying it to see more, that's why there's certain artists, even though I love them, I don't buy those big expensive gallery editions because I don't know that I'm gaining anything by seeing it that big. So there you go. She was in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, right? That cartoon show. And then she was introduced in the MU. Okay, there you go. Okay, we're still talking about Nova and everything else. All right. Well, it's we've been on comics, but let's keep on comics, because this is really a comic book show, isn't it? Let's find a way to spend money if we had it. Yeah, that's right. It's time for our expensive comic of the week. This is actually a comic that I once held in my hand. Not this specific issue. I mean, it was an issue of this comic, but it wasn't this one picture I'm going to show you. Am I making any sense at all? I don't know. Let's take a look here. Yeah, so this is Marvel Mystery Comics #9, and this is, believe it or not, 9.4, and it's not the Edgar Church Mile High copy, which is stunning to me. So that means and I don't know what the Mile High copy, what condition it's in. I assume there's a Mile High copy because there's practically a Mile High copy of everything from the Golden Age of any significance. This is a classic cover, Human Torch versus Submariner, which was a big deal back in the 40s, it was always fire versus water. But the Submariner is not made of water, so it's not really, he just lives in water. So it's not really I would still think the Human Torch could fry him, but it's the second Submariner cover. Bill Everett, Carl Burgos, Steve Dahlman, and Paul Gustafson, stories and art. Bill Everett and Alex Schomburg cover. So are we going to assume that Everett drew it and Schomburg inked it? Well, so anyway, back in 2009, which I'd like to point out to you is 17 years ago, this sold for $107,550 and has not sold since. So you can only guess at how much this sucker is going for now in this condition, right? 22 thrill-packed pages. Now that's a misnomer because these books were like usually 64 pages long. So I'm thinking that it's 22 pages of Human Torch fighting Submariner, because you also have Kazar, Electro, the Angel, Ferret, and other features. So yeah, so I'm guessing that, so we get a 22-page lead story and then all these backups. Man, you really got your dimes worth back in the day, didn't you? Can you imagine spending 10 cents for this and then have your son or grandson cash it in for $500,000 on your 10-cent investment? Let's take a look at what Go Collect has to say about this. So if we look at this, there's 62 graded copies in all, which is remarkable to me because if you remember, when we looked at the first appearance of Archie in Pep Comics, there was only 40-some copies of that have been graded. So this comic, which is much more, I would think, well, I shouldn't say it's more desirable because a lot of people want that first appearance of Archie, but this is more of a classic cover and a more recognized image from the Golden Age that it would have. And maybe that's because that's why there's more graded copies, is more people are aware of it, and so they send them in to get graded. But so we have 194, that's the one we just looked at, that sold for, if you look at this thing right here, 107 back in 2009. Then there's a 92, and then a 75, 70, a 65, 4 6-0s. And as it gets more beat up, we have a few more copies available. But you have to go down to a 6-0 that can actually give you an updated fair market value. $66,000 is 6-0 sold for. Over this past year. Now this 6-0, I'm pretty sure that's the one that I actually held in my hand and looked at. Well, there's 4 of them, so maybe it isn't exactly that one. But I know that Bedrock City had a copy of this, and I saw it at San Diego, and I actually held it and looked at it, and they wanted $55,000 for it then. And that was, well, I'm probably post-COVID. So it probably was only like 3 or 4 years ago. But anyway, so if you got a 6-0 going for $66,000, I've got to believe this 9.4 would be anywhere between $350,000 and $500,000. Because none of these higher grades have sold. Look at you, the 8.0 sold in 2004. And I don't know if this 9.2, if this is the Mile High copy or not. But you have recent sales on these lower grade ones. Let's see here. So a 2.0 sold for $15,000 recently. 2.5, 19, 3.0, $28,000. 3.5, now you're up to $38,000. Okay, do you want to buy that new car or do you want to buy this in a 3.5? Not much difference between a 4.0 and a 3.5 though, $1,000. And a 4.5, only $2,000. Now you're up to $41,000, $45,000. So it's incrementally climbing, but you get up here and you start getting to the higher grade where these books are really rare. I could see this going for 9.4. I could see this going for at least 350. Maybe I'm crazy, but there you have it. That is, folks, our expensive comic of the week. Paul Taylor's correct. He says the car will depreciate and the comic will probably appreciate. You tried to convince your wife of that. There's D-Wham's chiming in with the nerd alert. Marcus Killigrew says the cover is by Alex Schomburg and the 32-page story was penciled and inked by both Bill Everett and Carl Burgos. So the cover is Schomburg. Okay. If you say so. I do not argue with Marcus Killigrew. He is the purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge. So this is part 3 of the Human Torch Submariner battle. Now, I want to say it was Human Torch number 8 is a cover, which I also held in my hand and I should have bought because I could have got it for about $5,000. But instead I bought a Captain America number 18 for $3,500. $5,000 was a lot. But I probably still should have done it because I think it's worth way more than that now. But Human Torch number 8 features a very similar cover to that with the Human Torch fighting the Submariner. And that might be one of the multiple parts of this 3-part story that Marcus is telling us about. Okay. If only I had hoarded Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And Henry Angelus says, only if you had an audience. Yeah. If everybody starts throwing super chats at me at an unprecedented rate, we could get that comic. Okay, I'm just checking speaking of super chats, I'm just making sure I'm covered, and I am at the moment. All right, so we will lose this. Every time I look at that segment where we do the expensive comic of the week, I feel sad because I don't have that comic. I got problems. David Williams is right. I am a nerd. I've got serious issues. Stealth X5 for $2. Here's $2 towards it. Okay. Thank you, Stealth. Stealth just bought some original art for me, and I shipped that out on Friday. You should be getting that shortly. But as I recall, Stealth's all the way on the East Coast, so it may take a little bit longer. All right, guys. It's time for, I don't know, is it still our favorite segment of the show? Is that way everybody comes to see this? I don't know. I love that. I shouldn't say this, but I'm not a huge Ken Kelly fan, but there are a few pieces that he's done that I really like, and that's one of them. Also, Kiss Destroyer album cover is another one that I really like that he did. Yeah, only 69 likes and almost 100 watching. Well, it's not really true. We have almost 300 watching because everybody's watching on Twitter right now, which is what people do. It's easier just to kind of go on Twitter, oh, hey, and watch it on Twitter rather than going through YouTube, I guess, and finding it there. So anyway, we do have a healthy audience, and they're here to see incredible videos on Bigfoot. Now, remember, I promised you some leprechaun action, and we're going to start the show off with that. Here we go. Okay. Oh, Bigfoot. Oh, okay. So, boom. Oh, this is real. I'm almost convinced that this has to be real, doesn't it? Let's watch that one more time. That's good. This is good, clean fun right here for the whole family. Look at the way the chair bounced off the concrete. Doesn't even look real, but boom. I love how he just kind of backhands him with that chair, and the chair kind of like magically rolls away by itself. Remember when leprechauns used to be like happy, fun little things that were on cereal boxes, and now they've turned them into these evil, demonic things that are really scary looking for those. No, I think this is totally real. I'm curious if Bigfoot can teleport. Is it an interdimensional being? Does that make him a magical being? So that if he fought a leprechaun, who's also a magical being, that the leprechaun could get his butt kicked? It's kind of like Superman, right? If Superman fought Bigfoot, would he be in trouble because Bigfoot? Would Bigfoot be considered a magical being? I mean, we can't see him. He only shows up when he's blurry, which, when he's like moving in and out of dimensional time and space. So I'm wondering. Paul Taylor says advanced science does look like magic. Okay. Okay. Let's get a little bit more serious, shall we? Actually, I don't know how much more serious this is, but this is a photograph, just a photograph, allegedly, of a Bigfoot standing like a statue, arms straight down at his side. And this guy's purview. I don't think this is his backyard. Obviously, it looks like he's out in the woods, but I'd like to say that there's more to it than this. What's going on here down with his foot? That looks like a boot. So you can see his nose and his mouth right there. He has kind of this reggae kind of hairdo. Actually, that black and white horror film from like the 30s or 40s called The Golem? Or not Gollum, The Golem. Had kind of a head like this. The hair was made out of stone, of course. So you got like a little beard right there in this kind of moppy hair thing flopping over here. I don't know. I want to believe, but the fact that he's standing like that, this is either a wooden statue or it's some sort of digital creation would be my my guess there. Not too convincing. Now this one, these people are just on they're on a boat ride here. You can see a couple of heads are on the boat. But thankfully, this other passenger had like really great vision and thought it'd be a good idea to zoom in. And it's a good thing they did, because there he is right there. Look at those tiny hands he has, though. It's like Dr. Zaius or something with tiny little hands. All right. I hate to do this, but there's something problematic with this video. Do you notice that the Bigfoot here, he looks more like a baboon face there. But look, when he puts his knee into that snow, and the snow does not move or crumble or anything. That's kind of a pretty healthy indication that this is fake. I get so insulted when I find these videos and the people that are showing these videos are commenting on them like they're real. And I was like, come on, man. Why would Bigfoot, okay, why would he have bare little human hands right there? Little tiny human hands. And then why, if this guy had thought to make that snow right there crumble, you'd be going, well, no, maybe this is real. But it has that sort of like fuzzy flow to it that it totally feels like it was added later. And what's he going to do? Is he going to get a drink? He can't get a drink out of that lake without falling in. He's not even close to being down there to scoop up any water. So the whole thing falls apart. The whole narrative structure of this Bigfoot video falls apart. And I love how he looks up like suddenly he didn't realize that boat was there. And he's like, oh, can those guys see me? Yeah, so this person fails my Bigfoot class. I just don't think, you got to think about things like the snow, and Bigfoot's not big enough to actually reach the water. So what is he even doing? We need to tighten up that narrative. All right, now this it's pretty clear video, but what are we really watching here? Here's my problem with a lot of these Bigfoot videos is all the Bigfoots now are looking just like they're 100% apes that just maybe walk more like men, but the face is completely gorilla. And if it's Bigfoot, should be like man gorilla hybrid, and this is pure gorilla. I mean, it does look real, but clearly we cannot trust our own eyes. For example, if we're going to believe that the Patterson-Gimlin film was real, which is what started all of this, right? So we're basing everything we know on Bigfoot, or the belief in Bigfoot being real, on that film. So when you have a subsequent film of Bigfoot and it looks nothing like the Patterson-Gimlin film, then we have to assume it's fake, even if it looks real. And this actually looks pretty real. Except, again, you have a very short motion. You don't have like 20 seconds of film of this thing moving around and doing stuff. You have like the 6 seconds, right? Which is the free AI video thing, right? You'll do a 6 second clip and that's it. But so if you're basing your belief in Bigfoot on the Patterson-Gimlin film, and then you show this, and clearly the people that made this know whether or not it's real or not, and we pretty much can guess. But if you're creating something like this, you'd want to create it to look like the Patterson-Gimlin creature so that people would be more willing to buy into it. But I brought this up many times on this show. Every time we look at a Bigfoot video, it looks different than the next Bigfoot video. And so there's not like 100 subspecies of Bigfoot running around out there, right? So they would all look very similar, like a black bear. You're not going to confuse a black bear with an otter. You know what I mean? And it's like they all look the same pretty much. Or a grizzly bear or a polar bear. They all pretty much look the same. And so these guys, these Bigfoot video makers need to get on the same page. Can you guys hear me or no? Okay, you guys can hear me, right? You can hear me, but you can't see me. I know I just switched cameras. I'm not sure why this. There we go. Okay, I'm back. Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of my problem. I'd like to see some better consistency with my Bigfoot videos, and we're just not seeing it. It's kind of like Marvel Comics Presents. They're just, you know, taking anybody who wants to draw a Bigfoot story and letting them draw it any way they want to, which may be fine for a comic book, but it's not good to fool us cynics. I can tell you that. All righty. Well, folks, that is going to be that for this week. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. It's been great fun, as it always is. Couldn't do it without you guys, so I appreciate your support both on X and on YouTube. Again, I want to remind everybody that Barbaric Adventures #1 will be launching Wednesday afternoon, and we will be pushing that sucker all the way through to midnight on either my channel or who knows where I might land. So keep your eyes open for that. Get ready to back. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff on this campaign. I've been doing the best I can to keep it kind of secretive because I want everybody to go to the campaign page and check this stuff out. I haven't got the okay from Indiegogo yet. Still waiting. I should have that tomorrow. So that's the only thing that could throw a wrench in this works. But I don't think there'll be a problem. So I'm going full speed ahead with launch on Wednesday. And if something drastically changes, I will certainly let everybody know. And so there you go. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please be safe. Have a good time. Be merry. Don't get drunk Tuesday. At least don't get drunk and drive on Tuesday. I should be on Kings tomorrow night. And Tuesday will be the Professionals. Wednesday, again, Graybeards, the big launch for Barbaric Adventures #1. Don't miss it. Thanks, guys. We will see you next time right here on Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs.
Mr.